Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the RapidiOnline integration solution for Salesforce.com and Microsoft Dynamics NAV. My name is Keith Merrick. I'm Sales and Operation Officer here at RapidiOnline. And joining me today, I have the pleasure to introduce you to several of my colleagues. Michael. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Keith, and hi, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. I'm Michael Buck. I'm founder of RapidiOnline and have been working with data integration since early 90s, so a little bit more than 20 years. And was actually working with NAV before that time. So, yeah, back to Keith.
Thank you, Michael. And we also have Thomas with us today. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Keith, and hi, everybody. I'm Thomas, and I'm in charge of implementations and support at RapidiOnline. I've been working with integration for going on 14 years now, and I'll be handling the Q&A section today. So any questions pop up, please post them. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. And we also have our colleague Beata with us today. Hello, Beata.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Keith. Yes, I'm responsible for the marketing here at RapidiOnline. And today I will be launching some polls for you.
Thank you, Beata. Here is the agenda for us, but just before we get started, let me just go through some housekeeping notes. This webinar will be recorded and will be sent to you after the session, which are very welcome to indeed share with your colleagues internally in your organizations. Also, any question or comments during the session, please do feel free to post it on this webinar. If time allows, we'll certainly address all of them, and if not, we'll certainly get back to you with our feedback. So let's get started. Again, the agenda today is really to give you the full overview of how to go about integrating these two solutions, namely in Salesforce.com and Microsoft Dynamics NAV. So hopefully after today's session, today's webinar, you'll have some takeaways in terms of some condensed information on best practices onto how to go about integrating these two solutions. Just quickly before we move further to my colleague Beata for a poll. RapidiOnline is one of the few players, software companies that specializes within data integration and data replication solutions, and we have actually done so for more than 2 decades now. And it's worth to mention that RapidiOnline is probably the sole provider that have full support for all versions of Dynamics offerings, and Dynamics NAV in particular. We also have a global presence, so we have customers and partners all over the world. If I were to highlight a couple of properties that really makes us, or highlights who we really are at Rapidi, it would be that we deliver a generic and a robust engine connector, if you will, that will link your Salesforce.com with Microsoft Dynamics NAV. On top of that connector, we also deliver an out-of-the-box business solution. And I'll come back to that in a minute because that's quite an important item in our agenda today. The entire philosophy of building integration solutions within Rapidi has always been with the focus of making that task, particularly integration, a simple one, which basically means that you can go about integrating and getting the best of both solutions seamlessly. So this is really the philosophy. Adding to that, deploying RapidiOnline is also a quite fast process. That's thanks to our methodology. So with the methodology, with the philosophy that we have, and the business solution, you're able to deploy these integration very fast indeed. And the deployment process will leave it really up to you, the customer, so you could choose to have a partner that is a Microsoft Dynamics partner or even a Salesforce partner to help within the deployment project. Of course, fully supported by ourselves or directly involved together with you. It's up to you, the customer, really. So we have that flexibility there in place. It's also good to know that beside the Salesforce.com and Microsoft NAV, Dynamics NAV, we also support a host of other solutions, business solutions, but also other databases and such. And that is good information in order to that this solution can really grow with your needs and requirements in terms of connecting other data sources, be it a data warehouse or a web commerce or like. The RapidiOnline solution is also very scalable. Scalable in the sense of scaling the functionality, features, and so on, but also data volume handling. And we have small, medium, and very large corporations on the platform. We even have B2Cs, so that be supermarkets and hypermarkets with millions of transactions on a daily basis. So the solution can really scale in that sense. I wish also to share our architecture behind the scenes, and this is very important into everything we design our integration platform. First of all, the solution can handle both on-premise and cloud solutions, and even a hybrid. In this scheme here, it's actually a hybrid where you basically would have your Dynamics NAV either on your own network or a hosted environment, but still an NAV instance deployed somewhere. And to reach out to that instance, we deploy a Rapidi connector, which you see on the right-hand side. And that Rapidi connector is a small Windows service that does that handshake with that NAV instance. And the connection type between the Rapidi connector to NAV depends on the version of the NAV that you have, but also what type of integration we are to deal with. Michael will probably come back a bit to more detail into that. The Rapidi connector then only needs an outbound connection out of your firewall to namely connect with our central service, RapidiOnline, which you see on the left-hand side. And the RapidiOnline is a 100% cloud platform, and since it's cloud to Salesforce, it's a straight web service SSL communication there. So I would say, if I were to mention some important things here, that it would be our solution is an end-to-end solution. So there is no temporary storage or like, and this is quite important in order to really give that opportunity for the users to trust and rely on the data. So either the data is transferred and updated, or it is not transferred and updated, and the solution will keep retrying until it is indeed updated. And that's really the entire philosophy, and that architecture is really to make sure it's robust and it's a reliable platform for the users. Michael will also come to much more into details, but we have a whole range of functionality, and that really makes sense in order to scale the solution in terms of features, but also in terms of data volume handling. So for instance, the communication between their connector and RapidiOnline is encrypted, compressed, and really shipped over into some powerful packages enabling high performance and top security. We also have what we call incremental updates. So basically, we only transfer the changes that has happened since the last time we have done an update. And that's quite important as well. So we don't update everything every time, obviously. So that's a little bit about the architecture there. I mentioned the business solution earlier, and this is it for the Microsoft NAV platform towards Salesforce. It is very important maybe to highlight before I go through the objects here that we all know that the Dynamics NAV is very customizable. That means that you can make a lot of changes within the application, and so you can also within or on top of the Salesforce platform. All these customizations can easily be added onto this platform. So basically, new fields, new tables, new data structures, and the like are easily can be adapted on this platform. Michael will show us a little bit later on, but this is also very important. So the solution can handle both standard objects, but also customized objects as well. And customizing or adapting these onto the platform is an easy task to go about, even as a normal user, really. Especially for the admin folks, is a straightforward task. So that's important there. Taking it from the top, we have the customer to accounts. Again, a suggestion. These are all actually suggestions from our side to get you started quickly. So don't mind the directions or the objects, but again, take it as a help to get started quickly. So customer to accounts bidirectional. We also include contacts, by the way, also typically from Salesforce, where they are owned, you would say, onto the Dynamics NAV. Next, we have items over to products. Same for pricing, over to from NAV to Salesforce. We also have the entire sales history. And that would include typically the booked invoices, the booked credit memos, and so on, but also payments or customer and ledger entries, as they call in NAV. And these are transferred in a new object in Salesforce called payment history. But with that in hand, you really have the 360-degree overview of your account straight from Salesforce and powered by NAV data. And that's really the quite high business value to give to your Salesforce users, because that's information at their hand. And as you will see also later on in the demo, this is real data that will reside on your Salesforce instance, which basically means that you can slice and dice, report, and dashboard as you used to on the Salesforce platform. Last things we have on this business solution is the sales orders, and there we have several methods. Two of them are listed here. Sales orders can be transferred from NAV over to Salesforce, but we also have a model where you could have your opportunities from Salesforce transferred as sales orders in NAV. And the last model there can even be empowered by the workflow that comes with Salesforce. If you have the Enterprise Edition, then you can actually activate that workflow within Salesforce to say, for instance, I'm only interested to transfer the opportunities that have a particular status, closed won, for instance. Then that workflow can trigger an outbound call to our service, RapidiOnline Central Service, and make sure that the opportunity gets transferred instantly as a sales order in NAV. And actually you can do the same or apply the same for other objects as well. The idea there is really you can activate or make use of the workflow within Salesforce to activate these transfers. So this is the highlights of the business solution, and again, these are suggestions here, but it's all there, already developed, already ready to be deployed as of day one, which is the idea here. So we'll probably cover maybe 50, maybe 70, maybe even more of your needs, but at least it's a help to get started quickly. Integration for many, many years. So the floor is yours, Michael. Michael.
Thank you, Keith. So what I've prepared today is basically show you some more of the standard data integration that we have, and also show you a little bit of our data integration platform, the place where you're actually setting up the transfers and where you are configuring what should be going in either direction. So I'll start out by showing you a little bit on the NAV side, and then I'll show you how these data comes over into Salesforce. And at last, I'll show you a little bit of the platform of the RapidiOnline configuration environment, and show you how you can easily add another field to specific transfers. So in general, it's very easy to add fields to existing transfers, even to add new transfers. And I'll just give you a little glimpse of how that's handled. All right. So you should be able to see my screen. I'm showing you NAV 2013 here. And basically we're using the demo data that comes with NAV. So if working with NAV side, this should look very familiar to you. So we have Selangorian here, which is a typical demo account in NAV. And on this account, we have some posted invoices. So here's the posted sales invoices, and I'll try to dive into this one for Selangorian. And you should be able to see the amounts on the lines. It's just a single line, just an item here in Contoso storage system. Yeah, again, should be very familiar to people working with NAV normally. What I'll show you also is a typical sales order, again for Selangorian. In this case, it shows 3 different items here. So that's all for the NAV side. I'll switch over here and show you my demo environment on the Salesforce side. And again, here I'll show you the Selangorian account, and you'll see it's come over with address and very much the basic information that you have inside inside NAV also. What we typically do is that you might have some other fields that either fields that you use in standard NAV or fields that you added to NAV and that you want to show inside Salesforce also. This might be, if it's standard fields, it might be something like credit limit, it might be payment terms, things like that. We can show that they need to be added to as field in Salesforce, but we can then show them typically as read-only and only transferring from NAV to Salesforce and not back again for this type of field. But other types of field, you could have some categorization on the account that you would like to add to Salesforce and actually update back into NAV also. And we would add that to the transfers going back to NAV. If we scroll down a little bit, you will see that we have some financial information. That financial information is actually based on the ledger entries. So I'll come back to that in just a moment. What we have further down here is that we have the sales history, and we have again this same invoice that was made on the Selangorian account, and you'll be able to see here that we have all the basic information, or basically all the information from the invoice in NAV. And even if I scroll down, you'll see we have the items also. with all the details here. Again, as a standard, we transfer primary or the first dimension code or dimension field here. If you're using more than that inside NAV to categorize your sales, we would typically add that in so that you have exactly the same categorization of your invoices and line items also, and also on ledger entries as you have in NAV. This is very important because actually what most of our clients they do is that they have their salespeople working with Salesforce alone, and we transfer so much information into Salesforce that they are able to work only with Salesforce, and that they don't need to go back into NAV to get some additional information, and they don't need to go back into NAV to update information. They're updated in Salesforce, and data gets transferred into NAV. The salespeople can work on the road, so to say, or at fairs, because Salesforce you have access to everywhere. And what is also a positive effect of this is that you save some licenses on the NAV side. You only need licenses for your salespeople inside Salesforce. You don't need it in NAV anymore. A big bonus is also that by having all the information inside Salesforce, you can do some pretty good reporting out of Salesforce directly. The report engine in Salesforce is much easier to use as the report engine that comes with NAV. It's a very point and click based system to create a report, and it's created with a lot of defaults, and that you can then just drag and drop fields into the report area. So it's very easy to use the reporting features inside Salesforce, and the reporting works for all custom objects also. And our objects here, invoice header, invoice line, ledger entries, that's all custom objects that we provide for free for you to import into your Salesforce app. So, and again, they are actually also available in the Salesforce One mobile app. So you can actually drill down and see this information in the mobile app also. Good. I'll step back to the Selangorian and just show you a little of the ledger entries here. So again, here we have the invoice that we looked at before, and things are linked correctly together in here. So if I click this, I get into the sales history invoice. I won't do that now, but just to give you an idea. All the ledger entries here, there's payments in here also. In NAV, the sum of all the ledger entries would be the balance. And we do exactly the same thing on the Salesforce side. We have set up calculations so that all the open ledger entries, they are summed together to give the balance here. And in that way, we don't need to update each customer all the time. Rather, we transfer any new ledger entries, and Salesforce will automatically calculate the new balance. It's like in NAV where you have the flow fields, and Salesforce, they just call it a little bit differently. It's called summary fields or roll-up summary fields. but they do pretty much the same job. They can be used to sum up information based on some criteria also. So here we have created some fields that will sum up the sales for each different year. Now, NAV demo data is a little bit ahead of itself because they all posted in 2015, and that's why they're not showing up on the sales here for the past years. The last thing that I want to show you and also talk a little bit about are the sales orders. So as Keith mentioned, we have different ways of showing sales orders or different ways of transferring them forward and back. The base one is taking all open sales orders from NAV and making them available as a copy, like the sales history actually, just making them available for viewing for the salespeople inside Salesforce. So in that case, and this is again a custom object that we provide for you, and they're just showing a copy of the sales order from NAV with all the items and with the headers and calculating the amounts, etc., just as it would, or just as it's doing it inside NAV. And we are taking care of transferring any changes to the sales orders in NAV. So you start invoicing or delivering a sales order, then these changes would be reflected down here in the outstanding quantity, for example, if you start delivering some of these items. So that's the basic transfer that we offer. This will be interesting for the companies who is not delivering the orders right away, who it might take a few days, might take a week to deliver an order, and it's interesting for the salespeople to see how far in the process this order is, so that they can answer any questions that their customers might have. The next step would be if you are using opportunities inside Salesforce, and you're using these opportunities with all the details, so you're creating an opportunity with the details of the products, then in that case, when you win an order, it's interesting to get that order or new sales order automatically created inside NAV. And that's the step that we are showing there in the bottom. And we do this as a one-time step. So when you win your order inside Salesforce, and this can all be, the exact criteria can all be defined, then we transfer it as a one-time transfer, creating a new sales order inside NAV, and we're keeping a track of it so that we know what opportunity inside Salesforce actually created this sales order. And then when the sales order is transferred back into Salesforce, because it's a new open sales order, so it will get back into Salesforce normally, then it's also showing up under the opportunity as a sales order. If you split the sales order in two, because you hard deliver some, or you need to split it up inside inside NAV, and remember now NAV owns this information, so we can do that in NAV, then it would show up as two sales orders inside Salesforce, and they will both show up under the opportunity, so correctly link or showing all the information inside Salesforce. Good. I think that concludes basically the information, but also, as Keith said, the standard integration here is meant to really help you get started, and maybe it will cover all of your needs. Maybe it will cover 70 or 80% of it. But in any case, it can get us started very quickly. And then we modify the standard integration to suit exactly your needs. Either we do it or a business partner of ours are doing this job. I want to now switch over into RapidiOnline, the RapidiOnline configuration app. And that one is actually called MyRapidi. And in here, just show you a few things. It would take at least an hour to go through the application just to give you a good overview of it, and to actually train, we usually set aside a whole day. But the first that I will show you are the connections, and the connections are how we connect to the different systems. So in this case, we are connecting to Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2013. So the basic information that we need to do, we need to connect the Rapidi connector, and there's some information to do that over here. And then we need to see from the Rapidi connector where that is running inside your network. We need to know how to connect to your NAV. And so all this information that you enter in here is relative to where the Rapidi connector is running. And that's really the beauty about it, that you don't need to open up your network and allow connections to come inside your network. You also don't need to run the whole engine inside your network and have an extra server or something set up for that. The engine itself is running in the cloud, and just this little Rapidi connector service is running inside your network and facilitating the connection to the local systems that you might have. So this is how, seen from the Rapidi connector, that we would access NAV. For NAV 2013, we have two different ways of connecting to NAV. We have one through the database, which we're using for reading data from NAV. And then we have one where we are using the NAV web services. And that one we are using for writing data into NAV, specifically for the data that are a little bit more complex, or the little bit more complex operations, like creating a new customer, like creating a new sales order. We use the web services, and we can use the standard web services that are there right out of the box, and they will include all the changes or additions, extra fields that you made to, or extra customizing that you made to your NAV environment. Yeah, so that's the two different ways of connecting to NAV. If we look at Salesforce, it's very simple. We have just the credentials that you need for Salesforce, and we connect over the web to Salesforce and log in as one of your specific users, typically as an admin user on your Salesforce org. So just a little bit more on the connections. As Keith also mentioned very briefly, we do a lot to actually just read the changes out of a system. So if you take the customers, for example, from NAV, what we want is really only the changed or added customers in NAV, and we want to transfer these to Salesforce. And we have some different methods for the different systems. For NAV, for example, we can use the timestamp that is in the NAV database. It's not directly accessible inside from NAV, but it is in the SQL database below NAV, and we can use that information to know what has changed or what has been added to NAV. So that's how we detect the changes in the NAV side. Salesforce has a similar way of detecting changes. There it's just a web service call in their API, but it's doing pretty much the same. It can give you all the changes for a specific object in a specific time frame. And inside RapidiOnline, we then keep track of how far we are. And that means we run a transfer, and typically we keep track of when that transfer has successfully run through, and in that case we update the timestamp so that we know that next time we read from this new timestamp and forward. If it fails the transfer for some reason, maybe the connectivity to the NAV system or something like that, then next time the schedule is running, it will just start from the same point, and at some time when it runs through, you will be sure that you have all your changes coming into the other system. There's no need for going back and resetting anything or things like that. It's all taken care of automatically. So very briefly on the transfers. This one is a transfer that goes from NAV to Salesforce, and it's updating customer information into the account in Salesforce. And what I want to show you is just very briefly how to add another field to this transfer. So as a standard, we have set up some fields here, like address and phone number, fax number, things like that. But if I want to add the website, I go here and start typing the name of that field inside NAV. I know it's something with home, so home page pops up. I select it, and on the destination side, I start typing the field name, and it pops up, and I can select it like that. So that's all what it takes, and it's very fast to use this kind of interface. So that's basically why we do it. We have ways to see all the fields that are in there. We can browse the layout of either side and easily get an overview, including comments on the fields and all that stuff. So it's very easy to go around. When the data is added, all you need to actually test it is that you can go up here and you can run it manually, this transfer, to see that it transfers the data that you need. Normally, when the transfers are in production, they'll be run by the scheduler, and I'll just show you an example here of a schedule. Again, the schedule handles customer integration, so it transfers customers both forward and back. And for example, this one is set up to run every hour, yeah, you can set different things about when, which days, and when in the day it should run. And you can also set up some things about the notify interval. That means that if the transfer fails for some reason, maybe again connectivity to NAV, then it will automatically retry. And if it consistently fails, then you will be notified. So it's very important, I think at least, that you're not getting swamped with emails on failing transfers. You're getting the emails when you need to be notified. And we do it in this way so that the system can try to recover by itself. And if it succeeds, you'll never hear about it. If it does not succeed, if the problem persists, then of course you need to know about it. And for different types of data, there might be different intervals that you might need or you might want to put in there. But this is all something that you can set up, or we can set up for you. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much through what I want to show you today, and I hope that kind of covered everything. Else, please put in some questions, and we will try to handle it in the end of the session. So back to Keith.
Next on the agenda is to look a bit further into the solutions we offer today. And for that, I chose to go straight into our RapidiOnline.com website. We have our pricing structure there, and if we take our cloud solution, then you'd see that we have a set of editions, or different editions, and it's all a software as a service, so it's a subscription based. These are monthly fees, and in order to determine which solution suits your needs, then there are a set of parameters that we would need to evaluate together with you. I'll go through the major ones. The first one, it would be how many endpoints are we connecting, and that basically how many systems we are to connect. So Microsoft Dynamics NAV 1 and Salesforce, that makes it 2. The next important item is the number of companies within your Dynamics NAV. As you know, NAV can handle multiple companies and so on. Then these numbers, or this figure, is important for us in order to find which solution edition suits your needs. All editions are unlimited in terms of the users that utilize in the RapidiOnline platform, but also on the data volume. So there is no limits on as such, or number of users for that matter, either on the NAV side or the Salesforce. On the other hand, we focus on the number of companies within your NAV instance and the number of endpoints you are to connect. Scrolling down further, then you see they will support packages in all. We do include the business solution we went through earlier. Is included in all editions here. The next is also an important item, is the update frequency. And the update frequency is really these schedules that Michael have shared with us before, is how often these schedules should be running. So if you take the basic edition, we will be hourly, standard, 10 minutes, and so on. So this is an important parameter to take along in your design, in your solution. The mirror technology is also included. The mirror is the technology that Michael has mentioned, where we only transfer the updates, the incremental updates, as we call it. Also, we need to figure out whether you, as a customer, would wish to have access to the RapidiOnline central service yourself to configure and to adapt your changes. And for that purpose, you would need the standard edition to have access to that. Or you could have your partner or us do those changes for you, which is also quite a suitable solution for many of our customers. And we also have a feature here. It's called real-time integration, and this is again the feature where you can make use of the workflow out of Salesforce in order to do what we call instant transfers, and that starts or that is activated as of the standard edition and onwards. And also an opportunity to run manual transfers. It's good to have everything scheduled, but sometimes it might come just handy to run these manual transfers ad hoc. And as stated earlier, there's no limit on data volume as such, but we do have a set of performance measures in order to make sure that we really accommodate all your requirements in terms of well, features, but also in terms of data volume handling. And for those purposes, we have a set of parallel processing capabilities, and also even a hybrid service deployment and so on. So this is about the additions in highlights. And please do, you are welcome to go in and really evaluate which edition really suits your needs, and have us help you if you need further clarification on there. So that's about our additions and pricing structure. Just to run through a recap of what you have seen in today's webinar. Hopefully you've seen some simplicity, integrating both solutions. Also the lean processes that are linked throughout the integration, but also the powerful engine that really makes use or gets the best of both solutions. So this is really the philosophy in our approach into going about the integration for Salesforce.com and Dynamics NAV. So we have some customers that call it set it and forget it, and it's very true. So it is an integration that should be running in the background and only do a notification call once it needs your help to get things rectified and get the service up and running. Otherwise, it should be solid on the background integration platform. So that's RapidiOnline in a nutshell. And again, making an integration a task, a simple task, if you wish to go about the integration. With that, I think we've come to our Q&A session, and for that, I have my colleague Thomas. Thomas?
Yeah, thank you, Keith. We had a lot of interesting questions, actually. Been trying to kind of gather them in some relevance in regards to an implementation from start till end. So the first one goes to Michael. There's been some question of in regarding to what's needed of granules in NAV, and also documentation on what to create in Salesforce. If you could elaborate a bit on the documentation we have on that.
I'll actually start just by showing you our online help or wiki system, where everything around the configuration app is documented. So this is the go-to place for reading up on what the configuration app can do. And in here we have under the standard integrations, we have at least again a starting point, because it might be that you need quite some special things for your implementation, but related to the standard application that we were showing, we have the starting point here that will show you the fields that we use in the standard integration that we created inside NAV, and there's a few fields inside NAV and a few fields inside Salesforce also. So they are all listed here. There are links to there are links up here to download the sales history tree. We call it these objects for sales invoices and ledger entries, and they are linked down here to include or to install the sales order object in your Salesforce. So having said that, instead of jumping in there and creating a lot of fields, we prefer to have a chat with you, or we or our business partner, to have a chat with you first and to really evaluate what you need, and we would then compile an exact list of what you need. You might not need all these fields, or you might need something slightly different. But at least it's a starting point and gives you some idea about what it is. On the side on NAV, what different versions that we support, we actually support pretty much all NAV versions, back to what was common usable in the mid-90s. So, and even back to the text-based NAV that was current at that time. That comes with the burden kind of having been available for many years in this space. What is kind of relevant today would be certainly NAV 2013, which is the latest one, and R2 also of the version. But a lot of customers are still on NAV 2009 also, and more specifically NAV 2009 R2. NAV 2009 R2 was the first edition where the web services were kind of stable. They were introduced in R1, but I wouldn't recommend using them in that version. But in R2, they are quite stable and a very good way of adding data into NAV. So we fully support NAV 2009, and the standard application, we have that available for either for NAV 2009 with all the fields as they are there, or for NAV 2013. So we have two different versions of the standard integration. We can go further back to NAV 4 or NAV 5 also, but there we have more limited support as the web services were not available in these versions. We are using the Navision application server instead, which is also a way to execute code on the NAV side, but it's a bit more complicated setup. And I think what I hear now, most people are on NAV 2009 and or later, and that's really what we prefer to work with also. But an important point is also that you certainly don't need to upgrade your NAV, and especially not the business objects inside NAV, to work with RapidiOnline. We will adapt to whatever you feel good about staying on or working with. NAV granules, we use Seafront on NAV 2009, so that granule is needed. And For some special things, we might need, so you might need extra tables, but in the standard we don't use any extra objects. So the seafront is module or granule 1900. So that you would need on NAV 2009. On NAV 2013, there are no specific needs. It comes and supports also web services right out of the box. Any other questions? First of all, I hope that answered the question.
I think it does, Michael. Thank you very much. Very thorough. Next one, I think, goes to Keith. There's been quite some very business-specific questions, so I thought it would be good to raise a question about how we actually normally approach a new integration project. Keith?
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. When we start new projects, integration projects, and we, of course, listen to you, the customer, how you want to go about the deployment. So if we are to involve either your Salesforce or Dynamics partner, then we will do so, of course. Then we typically start up with a workshop, which is a couple of hour session where we go through all the processes and the workflow and all your requirements, basically. Put that on a blueprint, and that's the outcome of that workshop, where we know exactly what are your needs and how to go about deploying them in your integration solution. With that footprint, we go and create on a Basecamp project management cloud solution, where we really define all the tasks that need to be performed, who does what when. And with that in hand, we have a full visibility on how to go about deploying the project. And there, if there is a focus from the customer side, and also, of course, a focus from our and partner side, then it is very straightforward and a fast deployment process. So that's how we kickstart the project and drive the project from one end to another. Hopefully that gives you a bit of highlight, Thomas, there.
I think it does, Keith. Thank you very much. Then a more logical kind of question for you, Michael, that has been raised. What happens in NAV if you have, for instance, a customer, or in NAV and Salesforce if you have a customer records that have been changed in both locations?
In both places?
Yeah.
Yes, you can, in the way we set it up, you can determine which application for each different kind of object that you actually transfer in both directions. You can determine which one should go first, and that would actually mean which data have preference over the other one. Because even if you say you're running the customer integration every hour, for example, and then you're changing the same customer address in both NAV and Salesforce on the same customer also within that hour, then if one of them were changed 5 minutes before the other, it's not sure that this one should actually be the correct one. Can just as well be the one that changed either before or after that is the correct one. So what we do is actually, by determining which one should run first, we determine which one will maybe override the other one. And they're only overriding specific fields, so it's down to the field level actually, that you might say, okay, address information, phone information, for example, Salesforce has the master kind of here, and so we run the Salesforce to NAV first, and that means that if the address was changed in both places within the same hour on the same customer, then the change that was made in Salesforce would override the change in NAV. And this is usually quite all right. If needed, we can put down the interval to every 5 minutes instead, which would, again, it's on the same customer, which would really lower the possibility for it. And it's only the fields that you are actually transferring in that direction that will be overwritten. So that means that other information like credit limits and stuff like that, that we're not transferring into NAV, that will never be touched by the integration, and that will not be overwritten in any way from Salesforce. There, NAV has kind of the master. So NAV will be master on some fields and Salesforce on some other fields. I hope that clears it up a little bit.
I think it does, Michael. Thank you very much. Then a fresh one going on. If an integration project starts with the 2009 R2, for example, what is involved to upgrade to 2013? Do they have to pay for an entire new integration implementation?
Well, Thomas, from the payment, nothing is needed. We can run on the same subscription. And I think, Thomas, you are much better suited to actually answer that question.
Yeah, actually, when I think of it, you're right. I was just forwarding it. But yeah, normally if you already had plans actually to upgrade and you knew that within a year or something you would upgrade to 2013, we would normally approach 2009 R2 in the way we approached 2013. But if it's like more in the future, there would be some consultancy hours on adapting it, but it would be quite minor. I would say from adapting a 2009 till 2013 would be like a 10-hour exercise or something like that in our setup, since there will be some adaptations on fields that have been changed and some functionality, but the change is actually minor, unless you want to build new functionality on that. So hope that answers that question.
Yeah, you would say it's 10 hours on consultancy on the integration side, and this is really a drop in the ocean compared to what you need to spend on actually upgrading to NAV 2013. So it's very minor compared to that.
Yeah, but as mentioned, it is of course a question of the volume and complexity of the installation itself. Here I'm talking about like a standard solution where we have some custom adaptations, which most have. So could be a bit more, but as Michael said, would be a drop in the ocean compared to the upgrade costs. Okay. Okay, sorry, I think I lost connection there for a bit. Next question goes, what edition of Salesforce do we support, and do we support the newest versions of the API? That'll go to you, Michael.
Yes. The different editions of Salesforce that we support from the Professional Edition and up, so Professional Enterprise, the ForceComp platform we support, and the Unlimited also. On the Professional Edition, it doesn't come with API enabled, so to say, for the user. but RapidiOnline can access these professional editions even without you buying access to it on the user side. We have a special key, as we are certified app exchange application. We have a special key that can access the professional editions. So no need to buy API access in any case. The group edition we don't support. It doesn't have API at all. So there it's not possible. On the API version, Salesforce is very good at keeping backward compatibility with old versions, so you can call an older version of the API, even if the whole Salesforce is actually upgraded every 3 times a year, basically, what they are doing. You can still call the old API version. So if we have a stable and good running integration, then we don't touch it. We leave it calling the old API version, and we don't touch the integration. We let it run like that, and it will work with all the upgrades. We never had issues with that before. If for some reason you need access to something that is introduced in the new API, then we jump up to newer or the newest version of the API, which we test when they come out. We jump up to that version, and at that moment you will have new objects like special chatter feeds or things like that. You will have these available in the new API and be able to use them. But that will be when you're in the process of setting up something new.
Unmuted.
Hope that answered it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Michael. We are way over time frame here, so I'm going to hand it back to Keith. Thanks for all the questions. Back to you, Keith.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you, Michael. And thank you to all. Appreciated the input there. Hopefully you have got all some clear answers. Otherwise, as promised in the beginning of the webinar, we'll revert back to you with a deeper explanation if required. So thanks a lot, Thomas. We would very much like to hear from you guys, so please do get in touch with us. Yeah, we would very much like to assist and guide you with some best practices and information on how to go about integrating Dynamics NAV with Salesforce.com. At the end of this session, you will also all receive a survey, and we'll appreciate your feedback on that. Highly appreciated. With that, on behalf of the entire RapidiOnline crew members, I will wish you a very good afternoon, good evening, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you.